Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And we're reviewing a game that came out like 2 years ago, but it was Wes's copy, and it was at my place, and I'm giving it back to him, which is here, so, we're just, opportunity's knocking, I guess. So
we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, let's just do it.
So if you guys don't know Viticulture, definitely go back and watch our thoughts on this game. Fantastic game. I know it's one of Stegmaier's oldest games.
I think it is. It's his
first game?
It's his first Kickstarter game.
Okay.
And I was saying that it's my favorite of his games, but recently Tapestry might be dethroning it as being my favorite of his games. But anyways, it's really great. It's phenomenal.
It definitely lives up to the hype. We are now looking at Viticulture World, which turns this really tight antagonistic game into a nice, friendly, easy, laid-back co-op game.
Not laid back at all. It's
Not
very
easy.
difficult. So the main difference is the board itself. And you have, like, challenge, and you have hats. So let's talk about the board. First of all, the board is has a lot of similar spaces that you know and love. You fucking loser. It's very similar to the board that you've known before. I mean, it still has the same system of planting vines, harvesting vines, making the rape tokens and the wine, and fulfilling orders. But all of the spots are upgradable. There's these innovation tiles that you can put on, that you can pay to put on the board, that you either are going to upgrade the location, like what you do at that spot is instead of playing one card, you can play two cards and you get a point if you play two cards.
Yeah.
Or you can then place these oval tokens on the place where you put your worker to then give you an ability if you place a trained worker there, or to make it more open so you can place more workers there, which is probably the part of this game that makes it the hardest is in 2 and 3 players, you only have the one worker placement spot.
Yeah.
And that makes it super tight. It's like, well, if you're going to plant, then I can't plant. Yeah. Unless I use my grande, but that, we're still running really tight on that, turn economy.
That does add to the really cooperative nature, though, because you do need to talk about what you're planning, because what you do it matters what other people do so that you can do it. Mm-hmm. So, because it blocks for the round, it's not like, oh, well, I'll do that and do that later. You really, and it's only 6 rounds.
Yeah, you
really have
rounds.
to say, I really need to plant a vine right now because I need to do this order so I can get the points. Yeah. The other thing that I think makes it really difficult is the maple leaf track down at the bottom.
Grape leaf.
Grape leaf. The leaf track at the bottom is another thing that you need to do to win. So you need to get the points, but you also need to get the leaf up there. And so you're dividing your limited actions between those 2 tracks. Mm-hmm. And it can be really easy to focus too much on one track and neglect the other track.
Mm-hmm. Like, hey guys, don't worry. I got tons of money. I'm going to do the leaf track. And that's the 3rd time I've done it. And guys, it's round 4 and I only have 8 points.
Yeah.
And it's... Because that is the other thing is that, like, everybody needs to build their engine early game.
Because you all need to get the points.
Yeah, in order to win. And there's also different challenge decks. So there's 7, I want to say, in there. Different, like, continents that have different events. And different little things that change it. Like the one here, you probably can't see it. But there are, like, overlay cards that'll change things. Mostly for the better. There's one that makes it a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. There are some that have little, like, personal tracks. Some that have a big track that you move on. But they all have events that either help or hurt you, or incentivize you in a way. So that does increase the variability, which is great. But the other big deal is these...
the trained workers.
The little rubber hats. Yeah. Now you have workers that can only go either in summer or in winter, but if you train them, you remove their hats, and then they can go in any location. And when I play this with new people now, I'm like, look, I think the things we really need to focus on early game, in addition to your engine, is innovation tiles and training your workers. Because those 2 things will give us the most benefit later in the game.
And I don't think you need to have all of your workers trained.
But at least 1 or 2.
Being restricted to only 2 workers, in your grande, obviously, per season, can really limit you, especially end game when you're like, I really need to do this, and this, and I don't have the meeples to do it.
Mm-hmm. And combined with the innovation tiles of upgrading the big oval spots and placing your trained workers there to get more stuff, and also I like the fact that all the cards here, whenever it's like something like, oh, an opponent can do this,
Now it's good.
Yeah, it's a good thing. You used to be like, I don't know if I want to play this because I don't want to give that to my opponent. But I'm like, hey guys, everybody can get a point, or everybody can draw a card, or whatever. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Quick comment on the component quality of these hats. They are like a squishy, rubbery. In Rodney Smith's video, he talked about how it makes it really easy to take them on and off your meeples so you're not struggling. I would say that it's almost too easy to take them off.
Yeah, they're like ever so slightly too big.
Yeah, and so that a lot of times when I'm like retrieving my workers, I'll try to pick them up by the hat, and then the worker will fall off, and then you got to keep track of who's where. I don't know how he could have necessarily done it better. Very, very, very minor gripe.
Yeah, it's the only component in this game that isn't great, because everything else is great. Like, obviously, the base game stuff, you're using 90% of the base game stuff. But, I mean, you know, these cards, I just talked about these cards that line up to, like, overlay and change things. Like, they line up perfectly. Honestly, this is probably the best implementation I've ever seen of taking a regular game and making it co-op. I think Vikings Gone Wild did it. There was a co-op expansion, and it was really pretty lame. And I've seen a couple other games that just kind of, like, oh, instead of you guys each fighting each other, you just fight these enemies, and you know, but this, I mean, there's enough to it. I think that the difference of the board, the innovation tiles, the difference of the trained workers, the difference of that track there, like, and the different worlds. Like, you didn't have to do a Viticulture world, right? So he's going around the world, all these different continents or whatever. But he didn't have to do that. It could have just been that, like, you know, we all have to get 25 points against on the track. But he went the extra mile. And again, I really am very impressed with this expansion.
It was more than just let's take a great game and now make it co-op. They did a good job changing the game enough and adding enough stuff to it that it does feel like a new experience. Yeah. And I appreciate that
they reinvented it.
Yeah, that's a great way to say that. And I appreciate that he did it as an expansion, not a standalone game, because you do have so much. There's so much stuff in this box, especially once you get all the expansions. And you could play this with the Tuscany expansion too.
Yeah, like, which really just adds the orange cards, the stars you still don't use.
Yeah, Viticulture is just such a great game. It's a classic. It's an old game that still, I think, gets a lot of play. Deserves a spot on the shelf, and this expansion doesn't just make it co-op. It adds another layer to it. It adds another flavor to it.
It revitalizes the game.
It's got some good oakiness.
It's got some the tannins. You know the tannins.
It's the worst thing I've ever tasted.
Oh God! Oh God!
I think I'm gonna puke.
So if you're looking to pick up a copy of Viticulture World, we will have purchase links to both. We'll put all of them.
All
this
the
game, the expansions, the wine. If we can find links to it.
T-shirts like Hanes 3-packs. You know, down there.
Well, you get your credit card out. Make sure you check out Game Toppers.
Yeah.
Love playing on them. Play mats are great. Accessories are great. Having the table is great. Highly recommended.
Oh, subscribe and you'll never be bored.